Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I got some raspberries, and I'm going to show you how to make cooked, no pectin raspberry jam. It's really, really easy, and the way I'm doing it here is a very practical way where it doesn't really matter how many raspberries you have. You base the ingredients on the amount of raspberries. A lot of recipes, they say use 2 cups of raspberries and do all this stuff, but when you're growing raspberries or you're picking raspberries, you pick the amount of raspberries that are ripe that day, right, or over a string of days. And then you've got what you got, and you've got to use them before they go bad. You've got to use them all, right? So it makes sense to just have a recipe where all the other ingredients are based on the quantity of raspberries. That's how I do it. Let's get going here. So I got a bunch of raspberries that have been picked over the last few days. I just send my kids out every evening to pick them. And they've all been washed. Now, when you're washing raspberries, the best way to wash them is to put them in a bowl, fill that bowl up with water, get a colander, fish them out of the bowl, right? Don't pour the bowl in, because whatever kind of stones or rocks or sand or dirt or bugs or whatever, a lot of that's going to go to the bottom of the bowl. So fish them out, put them in the colander, and let that drain, right? That's what I've done here. These are all ready to go. First step is to get the raspberries in a pan. You want something wide and flat like this for making jam, in my opinion. A lot of people, they think you use like a high, narrow saucepan. You want as much surface area as you can get. It just, I mean, what are you trying to do? You're trying to heat the berries up, and you're trying to boil off some of the water and get a boiling going and get the sugar and jam and the pectin that's in the berries, get all of that to sort of work together with the kind of chemistry and physics that allows the jam to set, turn into a gel, right? So I think a big flat pan with a nice heavy bottom, stainless steel is sort of ideal, is the way to go. So let's get going here. All right, so I got my pan. We're going to turn it to about 3/4 heat and put the berries in the pan. You want as much of that water strained off as possible. Now, while these are heating up, right, get them all engaged with the surface area of the pan. But while they're heating up, you want to mush them a bit. You can use a nice little tool like this. This is a kind of potato masher, right? Use whatever you have. Even a fork is just fine, right? You can use a fork to do this if you haven't got one of these. Doesn't really matter, right? But just get all that mashed up. That'll squeeze some of the water, the liquid, out of the berries and just speed up the amount of time this comes to a boil. So that's all we're doing here is we're bringing this to a boil. We're also going to add some lemon to this. I mean, the ingredients are simple. Berries, sugar, lemon. That's it. Okay, that's all you got to do. That's all the ingredients you need. Over here to the left, you can see I got some jars and the lids sterilized, right? You need to sterilize everything. If you're going to store these, if you're just going to put the stuff in the fridge and use it and give it to your friends and tell them to use it, and it's not being stored, all you got to do is wash this with soap and water. It should be fine. But if you're going to, this is a cooked jam, if you're going to store these on a countertop and leave them for 6 months or whatever, then you're going to have to sterilize the jar, right? You're going to have to sterilize all your tools. You're going to have to sterilize, you can use one of these jar funnels. You can get these on Amazon or whatever. You got to sterilize that. You got to clean and sterilize everything if it's going to be canned in a jar, right? This will take about a minute or two to come up to temperature. I'll catch up with you then. Okay, the boiling started. Move that around a little bit. I got this on high now. At the beginning, I suggested putting it 3/4 heat. I mean, that's because I was doing other things. If you're standing right over the pan and you're keeping things moving, you can put it right on high. But if you're going to be stepping away from the pan and doing other things in the kitchen, I wouldn't recommend, because it can burn. Even with all this liquid, it can burn. So what I'm looking for is boiling everywhere, right? When it first starts boiling, it's boiling in one place. But now you can see it's kind of, the entire pan is engaged. The whole thing's boiling. Okay, so we have brought this to a boil. The jam's not ready yet. We're ready for the next stage. Okay, so let me show you what to do next. Okay, so we got this all boiling here. Just going to move it around with a spatula a little bit. Make sure nothing's stuck on the sides. Now what I'm going to do is measure how much heated up, brought to a boil berry we have. Okay, I got a nice heat-proof measuring cup here. Just going to pour it all in. Not a good thing to do with a white shirt on. Do not do this with a white shirt or white pants. Not recommended. All right, so I'm just going to measure that. Okay, I'd say we're at almost too close to, it's almost 2 cups. So I'm just going to say it's 2 cups for simplicity's sake. You know, if it's close to something, round up. Okay, so it's almost 2 cups. All right, it's a lot of jam. Now, one thing you need with this is a little lemon. All raspberry jam recipes recommend a little bit of lemon. I'm guessing the raspberry is not acidic enough to ensure good storage. Okay, so for me, the right amount, it's like a teaspoon per cup of raspberry. I got 2 cups here, and I think 1/4 of a lemon is probably more than 2 teaspoons, but it's close enough. You know, a little bit tart's just fine. It just means you're that much safer, right? You're adding that much more acid to the equation. Don't squeeze it in here because there might be seeds, right? Squeeze it into a bowl or a plate or something like that, just so you can pick out any seeds you might have. I'm just eyeballing that, but this is easily 2 teaspoons, okay? So, I mean, a 1/4 of a lemon, an ordinary sized lemon, is probably enough for 2 cups of raspberry. Okay, now we got our lemon in there. Now we got to add some sugar. So we happen to have 2 cups of berry, about 2 cups of berry. You know, the ratio is however much crushed heated berry you have, that's how much sugar you put in, rounding up, right? So I had about 2 cups of berries, so I'm going to put 2 cups of sugar. If you go lighter than that, you know, you have to boil it longer for it to set. You can, I mean, like, people always say, can you do a low sugar version of that jam? I mean, I only do things on my channel that I actually use. And this recipe, all the cooked recipes that are stored, they call for this amount of sugar to this amount of berry, because that allows for, with this amount of sugar and this amount of berry and that amount of lemon, if you've stored it properly, it'll store safely. Less sugar is a kind of preservative for berries. I did a whole podcast with a kind of expert on these things named Martha Zepp. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Very, very informative if you want to learn a little bit more about long-term storage of fruits and vegetables. Very, very good conversation, and very interesting lady. I think this makes a good jam, and yeah, there's some low sugar way to do it. I'm not interested in figuring it out. Okay, this is a really good jam, and it works, and it'll set, and it tastes good, and it stores safely. This is what I recommend. Okay, so now we're back to the stove top, and I'm bringing it to a boil again. And once it comes up to a boil, I'm going to hold it at a hard boil for 2 whole minutes. And the jam should be set after that. Remember, we've already brought it to a boil once. Some recipes will say boil for 3 minutes, some will say boil for 4 or whatever, but we've already boiled it once, right? So with this technique, it's going to be well boiled. Let's put it that way. We boiled it once, now we're boiling it again, sort of thing, right? So by the time we've done that, it should set just fine. I got it on max heat, right, as high as it'll go. And it's just a question of waiting now. I've got everything, all my other equipment sterilized, everything's ready to go. We're ready to make jam. I'm just waiting for this to boil. Okay, now we're at what I would call a hard boil. So now I start my timer, okay? Alexa, set timer, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
Okay. So now, from now until that thing tells me to stop, I'm just going to keep gently moving this around. You cannot walk away from the pan. It'll boil over or it'll burn on. Right, we got high heat, we got flammable stuff, we got sugar, we got a lot of sugar and a lot of heat, and conditions are right for things boiling. I actually might just drop the heat a little bit there. But yeah, just going to keep that moving around. Now we're really boiling. Really going hard. Look at that. Now that's a hard boil. All right. I'm actually going to adjust the heat down a little bit to 3/4. You just want to keep it going like this. Okay, and you can see all this white stuff is forming around the top. That's totally fine. You don't skim that off. I don't anyway. I don't know what that white stuff is, but I just try to keep mixing that white stuff back in, sort of thing, moving it around. but this is all you got to do. Just keep moving it around for 2 whole minutes. Doesn't seem like long. That's all you got to do. I'll get back to you in a couple minutes. Okay, my AI overlord, Alexa, stop timer. My AI overlord has told me to stop the boiling. So I'll shut that down. Now we're ready to put this in the cans. So we have to assume the jars are sterile, all my equipment's sterile, and the jam is as sterile as all get out because we boiled the heck out of it at high temperature, right? So we're ready to get this in the jar. Just going to take this off the heat because it's a bit noisy. That's just my sort of sterilization unit here. Bring a cloth right over there. Okay, got a nice big fat ladle here. Okay. All right, so the task is pretty simple here. This is super hot, so you don't want to get this on you, but you notice how I brought this jar right over, right? Otherwise, you're going to make a mess of things. You just pour that in. I try to, every time I get a ladle full, I try to give it a bit of a stir. And you want to fill the jar right up to the neck, right? Usually these canning funnels, you just fill it to the bottom of the canning funnel. That's usually roughly about the neck of the jar. Okay, so I got my lids in here. Not the rings. I don't think you need to sterilize the rings personally. They're not in contact with anything and they rust so easily. So I sterilize the lids, but the rings, I just wash them, right? They're not in contact with anything. Carefully put the lid on. Make sure your lid's in good shape. It doesn't have any bumps or imperfections, right? Because you want a nice even seal, right? And just remove the water from around the edges here. You don't want your ring to rust. These rust so easily, and you can't just replace rings. You have to buy whole packs. Okay, then you put these on 2 finger. I mean, if you're really, really tiny, maybe 3, but you don't grab it with your hand and crank it. Just 2 finger tighten like that is all you need to do. Okay, there's one. Let's do the next one. This is the process. This is, I don't know, to me anyway, this is how you do it if you don't want to make too much of a mess, right? There's lots of ways to do it, but this can get really messy. I also don't want to burn yourself, right? Give it a bit of a stir. There's still some heat in that pan, right? And I notice it's a bit thicker on the bottom than on the top, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a stir. There we go. That's good. Get that in there. It's just a beautiful, beautiful jam. I love jam. Okay, what's a morning without jam? I mean, yeah, once in a while we have porridge or something like that for health purposes, but to me, real breakfast involves bread and jam. Okay, this one's all ready. Getting the lid going here. Take that on. Again, we'll dry that off. Get a ring on, 2 finger tight. All right, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. I don't know if we got enough for a whole jar or not. We do, with a little bit left over, I think. Just ladle that in there. Just enough for a jar. A tiny bit left over. Just enough to put on once, well, maybe not even that. I actually think this will fill the jar. That worked out perfectly. So I guess with 2 cups. It's rare that I have 2 cups. 2 cups of berry, 2 cups of sugar. It perfectly makes 3 sealed jars. Okay, so now I got my jam in jars. If you're just going to use this right away and give it away to friends and that sort of thing, you can just use it like that. You're going to leave it on the counter overnight. And then the next day, put it in the fridge, get it cold, and it should be set and thick. There's ways to test this. I mean, if you're not confident that it's set, just before I put this in the jars, You put a teaspoon of it onto a plate, you put it in the fridge for about 5 minutes, take the plate, turn it upside down, or tilt the plate sort of thing if the jam doesn't run. If the jam's thickened up, then you know your jam's set. I've done this recipe so many times, I'm 100% confident this is really well set. Here's, let me show you, here's some raspberry jam I made last week using the exact same instructions. It's nice and thick, right? It's just to me, it's sort of like just the right thickness, right? It just slides off the spoon like that, the way a jam should. And it tastes just the right combination of sweet and tart, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to canning, if you're gonna can it for long-term storage, I'll try to find a link and put one in the description box of this video. I'm not gonna bother doing that here because there's different rules for different elevations and that sort of thing. I mean, generally speaking, I would just use the very thing I sterilized. The reason I use this pan to sterilize everything is I got some hot water ready to go for canning, right? And this one's just high enough, right, that I can cover these, right? But you have the water boiling, you have the jars in there so they're just covered, and you boil it for about 10 minutes. Then you take them out and let them sit on the counter, and overnight, you'll hear the lids snap tight, and then you know that it is vacuum sealed. Once you can your jars and you seal them, an important thing I learned from Martha Zepp, the test to see if they've sealed properly is you take off the ring and you lift them up by the lid, right? You should be able to lift it up by the lid. That way you know you got a good seal. And you store them with just the lid. You do not store them with the rings on. Okay, if you store them with the rings on, the rings will rust. And you'll have to get new rings. So the rings are just for this step. Okay, little tip at the end of this video, right? The rings are just for they're there for that canning process, right? And having some degree, the reason you finger tighten them is that there's enough of a seal to get contact between the rubber gasket and the lid in the jar. But it's not so tight that air can't get out because you heat this up and the water in here is getting kind of boiled a little bit and the air needs to get out and you create a vacuum, okay? But you don't want to have these rings on when you're storing it. And you sure as heck don't want to have these rings on when the stuff's in your fridge, right? So when it goes in your fridge, you can buy, there's different ones you can get online or at, I think these ones at Canadian Tire. These are Snap Tights. I think these ones I got online, these are Ball, I think. When you're putting your mason jars in the fridge, get plastic lids and use those. And then you won't get these all rusted out, all right? Little tip there. Anyway, that's how you make raspberry jam. This is the time of year to make it, whether you have them in your backyard or you get them on the side of the road somewhere or some other place on your drive to and from work or whatever, right? When I was a kid, it was nothing to see on a Sunday afternoon if you're driving somewhere, people on the side of the road picking raspberries. Those raspberries are still there. And even if you haven't got a property, you live in an apartment somewhere or something like that, there's raspberries. Where I live, Nova Scotia, Canada, they grow everywhere, right? They grow in ditches. They're very plentiful. Bird eats a raspberry, goes for a little flight, poops somewhere, and 10 years after that, there's raspberries everywhere in that ditch, right? That's all it takes. So anyway, that's how I make raspberry jam. Really simple, easy, versatile recipe. Tastes really good. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. Check out my Substack page where I do a recipe once a month, usually stuff like this or cooking or whatever, at maritimegardening.substack.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden, and have fun in your kitchen. Thanks for watching.